The impacts of climate change affect everyone, but not equally. Impacts such as rising temperatures, shifting seasons, and extreme weather like floods and droughts affect some people more than others. People who face discrimination on the basis of gender, age, indigeneity, and disability, amongst other factors, tend to be disproportionately affected. This means that efforts to adapt to climate change must take these social dynamics into account if they are going to be just and effective. The National Adaptation Plan, or NAP process, is a strategic process for countries to identify and address their medium and long-term priorities for building resilience to climate change. Through the NAP process, countries take action to protect their communities, economies, and ecosystems from the impacts of climate change. Since the NAP process was established, there was recognition that it needs to facilitate participation and integrate gender and social considerations. But how does this work in practice? What do governments need to do to ensure that their NAP processes address systemic inequalities? We can think of the NAP process as a cycle with 4 phases. First, countries assess climate impacts, risks, and vulnerabilities to decide where adaptation efforts should be targeted. The aim here is to understand which groups of people are most at risk from climate impacts, recognizing gender and social differences. Next, in the planning phase, countries identify and prioritize actions that can be taken to address climate risks. How these priorities are identified matters. Meaningful participation of the people most at risk from the impacts of climate change is essential for finding strategies that work, which are built on a diversity of knowledge and perspectives. In the next phase, as countries move to implementation, they secure financing and allocate the human and technical resources needed to implement their adaptation priorities. What's important in this phase is that investments in adaptation are targeted where they are needed most, tackling the drivers of vulnerability by addressing social norms and inequalities. Lastly, the monitoring, evaluation, and learning phase tracks progress and evaluates what is working and what isn't. This is a key opportunity to make sure that the people who are most vulnerable are realizing the greatest benefits from adaptation actions. While countries are moving through these phases, they are also putting in place the enablers for an effective NAP process. Gender and social considerations matter here too. Leaders in the adaptation space should reflect gender balance and the diversity of the population. Gender ministries need to be part of institutional arrangements, and actors advocating for underrepresented groups must be engaged throughout the process. Disaggregated data, gender analysis, and targeted communication strategies are essential. And addressing gender and social inequalities requires targeted financing and new and different skills and capabilities across the range of actors involved. Achieving all of this requires intention, time, and resources. But by taking these steps, we can ensure that the NAP process advances climate change adaptation that is strategic, just, and effective.